My video for September the 6th, 2017 is entitled Hurricane Irma. I was going to make a video as a follow-up to my previous one. However, the impending hurricane that threatens the Atlantic Islands and the east coast of the U.S. from Florida up to New York City takes precedence. Of course, I am paying attention to what the so-called experts are predicting, and I notice that these do not all agree. What I'd really like to see is for the Creator God to stop the criminals who play with the weather and so many more unfathomable crimes against humanity. While that is of paramount importance to me, I need to determine what is going on in relation to my home. Some have said that the entire complex where I live must be vacated, while others tell me that they did not do this last year. I hope the latter is true, and I also would like to see this and all such storms that threaten humanity to be simply eliminated. It is not the elite that are in danger, but rather us ordinary people who do not have the means to escape to mansions and safer locations. My prayers go out to people in East Texas who are still recovering from Hurricane Harvey. Yes, as I said, I had actually written another blurb and had another thing ready to go as a follow-up to the video that is current right now, the one that's dated for the 5th. That was recorded on July 4th, on the 4th, but which was Labor Day, not July 4th. Anyway, folks, I'm in a bit of a state of confusion, and one of my friends who is going through some tremendous challenges has stopped praying altogether, not being able to even believe that prayers are of any significance. And I must admit that my own prayers are anything but reverent and, I don't know, humble prayers. I mean, they're angry prayers, angry at a creator who would allow creation to take such horrific turns as has been going on planet Earth for far too long. I know many of you may not like to hear that, but it doesn't, the blame does not rest with us. We may play a small role in creation, but if the Creator has any omnipotence and omniscience and any love, it would have stopped a long time ago. I mean, I just don't understand how a loving God continues to allow such horror on a planet where there are people who want to do the right thing, but they're not the ones in control. They're not the ones in charge. And it breaks my heart to see my friend unable to even pray because her faith has been challenged to the point that it has, that she doesn't even want to talk about it with me because she feels no hope. She's in a very tough situation, and she's not threatened herself by the weather. She lives in a place that's relatively safe. Nevertheless, she faces issues that many of us around the world face, not just in the United States, but even worse in Palestine and the so-called third world countries, where people are even worse off than they are in the less affluent areas in the United States. And affluence is relative. I mean, if I mean, my Social Security is under $1,000 a month, and that's what I live on. That would be considered poverty income, or is considered poverty income here in the United States. And yet, if that same income were put into a third world country, it would be affluence. It depends on where you live. And hurricanes depend on where you live. The colder regions, of course, don't ever have a hurricane threat. They have other natural disaster threats. Why? Why do people have to live with threats at all? Why are we so powerless and able to control our own environment even? I don't understand it. Of course, I did see where people that erected some kind of a spiritual barrier around their homes were protected. Even in other storms that I'm familiar with, some of the people that, you know, they might have had devastation all around them, and yet their particular location was somehow protected. So there's all sorts of things that I'm trying to put together in my mind and make sense of, and I want to, as much as possible, stay in a place of love. But it's hard for me when I see such suffering to not lay the blame where, to me, it belongs. And it doesn't belong even on the Illuminati. It belongs on the Creator, who has allowed the Illuminati to even come into existence, who has allowed a third of the angelic realm to rebel, which is insane. Lucifer or a devil, whatever you want to call it. There's so many things that don't add up and don't make sense with this thing called creation. Again, love generates much more positive responses than fear does. Fear freezes and puts people in a state where they feel helpless and dependent on something outside of themselves. Love, I would think, love would make us feel much more secure and able to control our own experience, our own reality, if you will. If I sound confused, you're absolutely right. It is confusing. And so I understand how people are wrestling with these things and trying to make some kind of sense out of it when it doesn't seem logical or sensical at all. I don't even know if sensical, I guess sensical would be a word. Anyway, folks, those of you that still feel you have the ability to pray, ask the Creator to begin to take action and turn the world around and give us a world that actually works for the benefit of the majority, instead of only the benefit of a very small minority that thinks it is somehow superior to everyone else. This needs to change. This whole structure of a world needs to radically be altered so that we can experience the good that I think that I'd like to think we deserve. But some would say we don't deserve it. But how can you blame people that have been brainwashed and mind controlled for things that result from the manipulation of their own conscience, their own thought process, their own ability to love or inability to love? Anyway, this is my crazy message for today, and I do thank you for listening. Namaste.